Sidney Crosby practiced yesterday in Brossard, Quebec, just outside Montreal in advance of the first game Canada will play in the Four Nations Face-Off tournament tomorrow night against Sweden. Yes, he was cleared to play in that game, cleared medically from the injury that kept him out of the Penguins' last two games before the break. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. If you happen to be one of those people who are cynical about Sid having been held out of those two games that the Penguins played in New York and in Philadelphia, look, I can't convince you one way or the other what became the priority. I can share that visually, just watching him, it was killing him to not participate. And in something that he revealed yesterday in his session with reporters that he didn't on the New York-Philly trip was that he had been ruled out of those games, both of those games. And it was done by the Penguins medical staff. He subsequently flew from Philadelphia to Montreal, was examined anew, and was cleared. So just want to get that part out of the way because I'm sure it's going to be a topic of discussion, if not outright debate. To me, if you're not able to trust Sid after all this time and everything that he's given, that's way more a reflection on you than it would be on reality. The reality, setting all of that aside, is that Sid has yet another chance to win yet another really big thing. The way he's been doing his whole life. This goes back to youth levels, junior levels, 2 Olympic gold medals, World Cup, World Championships, meaning the IIHF. And the list actually runs a lot longer than that. When he has represented his country has won. I don't know that that was always realized or appreciated up there the way that it is now. But I do know that I was there when the moment sank in for everybody north of that parallel, because that was, of course, in Vancouver in 2010 when he scored that golden goal against Ryan Miller and the United States. And that tournament went a little bit differently for him in Russia. I'm not sure exactly why, but the Canadians were never really able to get going offensively, even in their gold medal game. So what Sid did, in turn, was everything that was needed for Canada to win, meaning all that other 200-foot Sid stuff. And in 2016 in the World Cup, there was another winning result. It also produced, to me, the greatest quote that any hockey person has spoken about Sid. That was when Mike Babcock referred to him as a serial winner. The funny thing is, that exact quote, if you read out the full transcript of it, it's 2 sentences. The first one is unbelievably unremarkable. It was, he's a good player, period. A serial winner, period. Now, lucky for Babcock that the only part anybody remembers is those last 2 words, because the rest of the quote is just so lame. But if it took that for Babcock to come to those 2 words, great, because it sums up everything that Sid is. When you think of Sid, even just purely from the Pittsburgh perspective, and think of his 3 Stanley Cup championships, 4 Stanley Cup appearances, maybe one of the coolest things about it is that, and I say this with immense respect, so please listen to this carefully, he's never had like that monumental moment in the playoffs or in the finals where you could say, aha, that's the one thing that happened. That's the statue. The biggest single goal that he has scored in his career is probably that one in Vancouver. And the biggest single moment, if you really want to get right down to it, is something that only diehard fans of the team could appreciate, and that was that backhander against the Islanders in the regular season when he came back from the concussion, when he had his career threatened and was doing and trying everything up to and including hanging from the ceiling like a bat to clear his head. I'm not making that up, by the way. That actually happened. But the reason that I say that that's a testament to him is that what Sid did in 2009, 2016, 2017 was all of that Sochi stuff. He was the guy, regardless of the coach or the sweater, who'd be sent out there in the most critical situations. He'd come up with whatever the big play was that'd make the biggest difference in the biggest moments, which is so much harder than, and I say this respectfully too, just happening to be Max Talbot scoring both of your goals in Game 7 in 2009. Don't get me wrong, Max had a great game, and those shots were very good shots, and awesome for him. But Max, I can tell you, would be the first to agree with me on this. The other stuff is way harder, and nobody's arguably been better at it, maybe in hockey history, than Sid. And speaking just for myself, I'm delighted that he gets another chance to live that out. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Victor in Langley City, British Columbia. Asks, DK, why do our Penguins start the year so badly over the last few years, and then with about 30 or so games left, depending on the year, they come together as a team and make such a push to make the playoffs? If they didn't start so badly, and I watch them when they roll into Vancouver every year at the beginning, and they're horrible, they'd be in a much better position. So why? The answer, I think, has changed over time, Victor. When you're talking about 3 or 4 years ago, I think you could reasonably still look at the explanation being, all right, here are guys who are just used to being in the playoffs. This was automatic. They would win so many games just through simple osmosis that they didn't have to battle for anything. I'm often citing how I would go down to the locker room after the game on the night that the Penguins clinched a playoff spot, and I'd be sharing this information with them. They didn't even know. They weren't paying attention to it at all, and kind of understandably. Now, of course, it's very, very different. And after 2 years of missing, that's no longer the case. So what would it have been this year? I think, plain and simple, it's that they were a defensive disaster. And when I say defensive, I'm not talking about the 6 defensemen. I'm talking about every skater and every goaltender. They were doing things that I had not seen from this franchise since the pre-Mario Lemieux days. So we're talking about 40 years where it was just giveaway after giveaway, breakaway after breakaway, odd man breaks galore. All the goals scored on first shots. By the way, even Joel Blomqvist was infected with this the other night in Philadelphia. Flyers had 1 shot through the first 18 minutes of the game, and it was a goal. That took a while to sort out. I still can't say with certainty, and I'm not sure that anyone can, what exactly occurred there. I do know that there's no way that wouldn't come back to the head coach ultimately, but there had to be more to it. And I believe that on the ice, there was more to it. They didn't get the saves that they needed from either Tristan Jarry or Alex Nedeljkovic. They didn't get anything good, really, from Erik Karlsson for quite a while. Maybe it's because he had that injury through camp and was just thrust into the lineup when the season started. I don't know. They didn't get Chris Letang's best. They didn't get Marcus Pettersson's best, coming off a year that had been his best. Jack St. Ivany was supposed to be at least a top 4 candidate back there, and he was just awful. Still hasn't made it back to the NHL. And I'll repeat that I don't have any intent of exempting any forwards from this, any of them. Why did it happen? I don't know. Did it happen? Oh, you bet. Are they still paying a price for it? Absolutely. This is a team that's 3 games over 500 since that 3-7-1 start. That's not great, but it's not what that was. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.